we'll call the meeting of the Public Health, Safety, and Transportation Committee to order. It is Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025, and it is 4 o'clock. Please call the roll.
Chairperson Mike Seville.
Here.
Vice Chair Bill Donnell.
Here.
Alderwoman Wani Garza.
Here.
Alderman John Lash.
Present.
Alderman Temesiakos.
Present.
5 present.
Okay. Any members of the, we got to do the approval of the minutes first. 25-0299, approval of the minutes from the Public Health, Safety, and Transportation Committee held on April 8th, 2025. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderwoman Garza, second by Alderman Donnell. Any corrections, additions, or deletions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried 5-0. Any members of the public wishing to give public comment?
No one has signed up.
Okay, we'll go to the agenda then. 25-0315, a resolution to maintain the maximum number of Class A package sales liquor licenses unofficially related to the application for One Stop Inc. in Ward 4. Jennifer, welcome.
Good afternoon, Jennifer Stallings, City Clerk. We are here on a special type of a ownership change issue for the One Stop store on South Lake. I do have 2 representatives of the business here today who you will meet in a bit. They are brothers, and they have been involved in the family business, which was their father's business it's been here for about 40 years now. As I said, on South Lake Street. Unfortunately, their father passed away last November, I believe. Yeah, the end of November, after having operated the store for, as I said, about 40 years. I did go through our files and I was able to locate his initial liquor license application back in 1991. The classification that they are currently operating under is a full liquor license, so it's package sales, full liquor, off-site consumption. So when the owner passed, he was 100% owner, and his son, who is present here today, was the manager of the business and has been the manager for quite some time. And I believe his intent is to pass the business down to his children if they want it in the future when the time comes. So what he is asking for and what they are asking for now is to continue on with their father's hard work and to be able to have the full liquor license at this location. What this would require is to be able to grandfather this location in. And by that I mean, back in 1991, the requirement for a full liquor license was minimum square footage of, I believe it was 6,000 square feet for a full liquor license. And as I've said now, I think 3 times, because I think it's so impressive. Now, for 40 years, he's operated at that location successfully. Unfortunately, the requirements have changed since then, and the requirements are now 10,000 square feet minimum. So we have to look at what the intent of the code is here as far as whether you can grant them this liquor license. So when their father passed, they, in essence, were able to continue under the code with the store operations. There's a specific code section that does allow for that, and that is section 6-32, transition. They have approximately, I believe, 6 months to continue the operations after the passing of the owner. So they're here in advance of that 6 months. So the code it's difficult because If they were trying to sell this to an outside party, if they had listed this for sale, I could not recommend to you or ask you, aside from special permission, that you grant the liquor license for full liquor at this location. But I think that in this situation, we have 100% ownership of a business that had operated at this location, once again, for 40 years, with a full liquor license. That is a big part of their business. We are asking that you allow this business to be grandfathered in because it was not sold. Ownership is being technically transferred, but it's being transferred inside the family to a son who has been active and involved in the business for a long time. Furthermore, they are active members. Well, they own property in the vicinity. They own 4 rental properties right at that corner as well. They also just told me that they recently made a $100,000 investment to improvements to the property, which they can tell you about if you'd like. And they also are, later this month or next month, they have invested $150,000 into a roof replacement for the building. So they're putting a lot of money into this place. I think that if you have questions for me as far as the technical or legal reasoning or what the code says about granting this liquor license classification to this location, I'm happy to answer anything, any questions that you have. If you have any questions for them, they're here to answer your questions as well.
I have 2 questions up front, Jennifer.
Yes, sir.
Number 1 is, does the ordinance allow us to grant this exemption? And 2, has our law department looked at it?
So I think that it's not an exception as much as it is grandfathering in of the current license. It's not an exception as much as we're not changing anything. They're not changing the operations. They're not changing really anything. Right?
Yeah.
You want to come up, introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Sham Sangvi.
Here you go.
I've been running the place. It's the only employer I've ever had. I've never worked for another company. So what we've done over the years, that's kind of what our operations are going to be moving forward. There's not much different I could do at this location. It's what I know, it's what I've done, and I think we've done a pretty good job doing it and respecting the city and, you know.
Just de facto.
Would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hi, I'm Rod Sungvi. I'm not one of the owners, but I'm his brother. I'm the family attorney. De facto ownership is just on paper hasn't, you know, he's always been the one that's kind of owning the place and running it as the manager. It's just unfortunate we didn't have the, you know, paperwork inked prior to my dad passing. He did pass. Shares have been transferred over to him. Everything is kind of continuing on as it always has. As for the square footage and the grandfathered in, I think she mentioned that probably as clear as I could. Basically, everything's going to be staying the same. It's going to be a continuation of the business. There hasn't been any money transferred. Everything is just the same, except we're now inking the deal.
And Jennifer, my second question was, has the law department looked at this?
They do look at the Legistar item as it comes through as part of the approval process prior to presenting it to you. I have not had any independent one-on-one discussions with anyone from the legal division, but we could do that if you'd like. I think that I do have an example of a property where we have done this in the recent past. Actually, it was not even a grandfathered in issue. If you look at, you would probably recall Galena Liquors at the corner of Galena and Lake.
Right.
He actually, the prior owner actually sold that property to an unrelated, uninvolved third party or other party.
Is that Mr. Macon?
I don't recall the name there, but
Okay.
you may recall that we were able to, the new owner made some significant improvements to the property that I believe council felt was worth the consideration that you gave to grandfathering that store in as well. Because if you take, again, big picture consideration, even in that, the facts in that issue, I don't believe they add up anywhere near to the facts in this issue. He was selling that property, selling that business for profit, or not, I don't know the specifics there, but selling it on the market, whereas this is just a transfer in the family, not for profit. I just think that if we were able to do it for that situation, this situation certainly warrants consideration if you are willing to consider.
Okay. Any questions? Alderman Lesh?
I think you said, as I'm paraphrasing, if it was going to a different owner, you would not make the recommendation. Is there a reason for that?
If it was going to a different owner, my personal reasoning why I would not feel comfortable making the recommendation is because I believe that it would be taking it much further outside of what the confines of the city code allow. When ownership changes, it then voids the license. So once you void the license, you have to have a new application. So that's what we've done here. We have a new application. So if you look at the two in contrast of with each other, you've got a completely new applicant that is a new person, new business coming in to run a new business who has paid consideration for the business, hoping to earn money from the business. Whereas we've got a family who has run the same business for 40 years, who has not paid consideration, who is just looking to keep the business in the family.
Okay. But are there any reasons, have there been any violations over the years that are noteworthy or worth bringing up?
For One Stop?
Correct.
No, and in recent years, absolutely not. I have not. I reached out to Property Standards. I emailed with Ruthie just last week. She said she had nothing. I know that there was, I did have secondhand knowledge of a conversation that was held with the police officers. One of the lieutenants in the police department actually reviews and has to sign off on the application as well. He signed off on it with no indicators that there were any issues. I just don't, I don't personally have any reason to believe there's a problem.
Mr. Chairman?
Alderman Donnell?
Jen and I did discuss this case, and I had an opportunity to talk to the COP officers who cover this area and their sergeant and lieutenant, and they had no problem with this. They didn't see any reason why that we couldn't go forward with this. So they were happy the way it was being run, and it doesn't appear that we have problems at this location.
Okay. Anything more you want to add?
Yeah, Jennifer, but, okay, they don't want to change the name, they want to keep in the family. So right now, they want to stop it in his father's name, correct?
Correct.
So it's in your father's name. So now, what is the name going to be in the property or in the business?
So the company is going to still be the same company, but because the actual ownership of that company, it was previously 100% in their father's name. And because of his passing, it's no longer in his name, and it is passing down.
Correct. The shares transfer to the trust. The shares transfer to the trust, and then the trust transferred over to Sham through his inheritance.
Okay,
So not the names, as for the name's gonna be the same. Nothing changes for signage. Operations are all the same. Hours are the same. Management is the same. Yeah, there's no known violations or anything like that. No
Yeah.
dings on the license. or
yeah, but
anything
it's
like that.
under trust, so now the trust going in you guys' names, right?
Correct.
So no more your father name is what I'm saying.
Correct. Yes.
So this is not changing name?
We're not changing, the business name is
The
not
company's
changing.
staying the same.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
shares of the corporation are just being
Yeah, yeah,
transferred. The
okay.
corporation is remaining, and the corporation is the one that's gonna be the applicant of
Okay.
the license.
And the grandfather is in the corporation name?
The original license was applied for by the corporation.
Okay.
Same corporation.
All right,
And because of state and local laws and regulations, we are required to know who the actual owners are. We have to have background checks and that type of thing. So even when a corporation is the owner, we still have to know who the actual individual people
Yeah.
are.
yeah, I want to be clear with that because we have, especially in my area, was very old, we have many businesses with a grandfather permits or license. So I want to make sure to be clear in the situation like this, because it's in the corporation name, not in his father's name, the license, the liquor license, right?
Yeah, so there's a corporation that is the owner of the license, but the individual would be the owner of the corporation,
Okay.
if I'm stating that
That's correct.
correctly.
Yeah.
That's generally how.
But there had to be this situation, I want to be clear, because I want to the people understand when his grandfather is not just transfer to the family members, it's a process, correct?
So for liquor licenses, you mean? So yes, liquor licenses cannot just be transferred. Is that what you're asking? Like,
Yes.
we can't just, yeah, unfortunately, it would have been, this would have been a wonderful example if we were able to do that under the city code, because it obviously would have saved a lot of, I mean, maybe heartache for having to come in here and do that after the passing of their father,
Yeah.
if it would have just transferred down through succession. But we just we don't allow that under the code.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Any other questions of the committee? Is there a
Motion to
motion?
approve?
Second.
Motion has been made for approval by Alderwoman Garza, second by Alderman Lesh. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Second item on the agenda is 25-0330, a resolution authorizing the execution of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Aurora, the City of Elgin, and Kane County, the participation in the 2024 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, JAG program. Lieutenant, welcome.
Good afternoon, committee. Lieutenant Bill Rowley, I'm the Administrative Services Lieutenant for the Aurora Police Department. Coming for you again this year for the 2024 Edward Byrne Memorial Law Enforcement Grant. This is something that we bring every year. It is an allotment grant where the federal government, they come up with a number, they tell us how much funding they're going to give us each year, and then we write a grant proposal to demonstrate what we plan to use with those funds. As you might remember, we share this fund. The City of Elgin also receives this, and historically we have voluntarily elected to share 30% of our grant. Elgin shares 30% of their grant award with Kane County. Kane County is considered a disparate agency. They do not submit numbers to the Justice Department sufficient to receive their own grant. So through a historical agreement, we share those grant funds with Kane. So I think you have in your Legistar item the breakdown of each organization and how much their allotted grant amount is. That requires a memorandum of understanding between the City of Aurora, the City of Elgin, and the County of Kane. A copy of that memorandum of understanding should also be in your Legistar item. The City Clerk has the original, so with your review and approval, I'm bringing this to you for the approval of that memorandum of understanding. I can give you more information on Aurora's part in this. Our plan is to use our portion of the funding to support license plate reader subscription fees. Now, going back to April of last year, members of the city brought forth to you resolution number 24-159, which broke down a little bit more information about how these license plate reader cameras were obtained and some of the parameters associated with those license plate readers. The Rebuild Distressed Communities Grant Program, the Illinois Attorney General's Grant, and the COPS Technology and Equipment Program. Those three grants supported the purchase of these license plate readers throughout the city, and in each case, it also supported a portion of the associated subscription fees with this camera. In layman's terms, the grants bought the cameras and they paid for a portion of the subscription fees. The understanding is that the city would bear the burden of those remaining fees in years beyond the grant award. And in some cases, they only paid for, say, the first year of subscription fees, and then the city would bear the cost of those remaining. What I mean by subscription fees is, for instance, we have the physical equipment, but each camera is monitored and supported through wireless connections, various APIs back to the police department and elsewhere that allow the data from the camera to be transferred to the police department for review. Those subscription fees were not they're a regular ongoing fee service, and they were not entirely covered by the grant. So, in a decision package submitted last year, we received an annual funding beginning in 2024, rather. This was submitted in 23. From 2024 through 2027, we have approved via decision package $18,500 per year to cover the cost of these subscription fees. Now, the Edward Byrne Memorial Grant allows us to use their funds to pay some of these fees, and it sort of may bridge a little bit of the gap. There's no supplementation or commingling of funds concerned with the Edward Byrne Grant for this purpose. This is an allowable expense by them. So the award for this grant will allow us to pay almost the entirety of this year's fees. We'll still need to pay about $500, give or take, in addition to the grant award, and that will take care of the 2025 subscription fees for all of our license plate reader cameras. And then, of course, we still have budgeted funds for the remainder going through 2027 to continue to pay these. Incidentally, these subscription fees total cost is about $512 per camera per year. So that adds up to about $8,500 being paid to the Motorola Solutions Corporation for Motorola related cameras, and about $8,200 that's paid to another service that's ancillary to the Motorola system that's called Flock. Both of those are separate services. So the $8,200 and the $8,500 together gets us right about there. We do have another grant that's being that we believe is going to be awarded that will allow us to buy additional cameras, but the subscription fees will still have to be borne by us. So between those two systems that are already up and what we anticipate before the end of 25, we will have a cost greater than the grant award amount, but still less than what we would have remaining in our budget to pay the difference, and also to pay for subscription fees going forward. So that's just a little history on what our plan is to do with the grant award for here. We do have a public hearing set for May 15th for City Council related to the approval and acceptance of this award, and it plans to go up at the same time this does. And I'm free to take any questions you might have.
Any questions of the committee? Alderman Lash?
Thank you. What other things could the grant be used for? I mean, I understand it really doesn't matter. You've got a budget item that needs to be covered, and you've got a grant to do it, but just because for the parameters of the grant.
Sure. It may be easier to give you what it won't allow.
Okay.
It won't allow us to buy aircraft, military weapons, or alcohol. So anything else that has a law enforcement purpose is permissible under the grant. There are certain bumpers put in place about how the money is spent and how we have to report on those funds, but really anything that is a law enforcement related purpose. So we could have used this for almost anything outside of, and also personnel. We can't use this for personnel.
Okay. No other questions, Mr. Chairman?
Okay. Any other questions?
The amount they provide is based on the population, or how they do Elgin and also Kane County and Aurora?
That's a great question. The federal government decides how much money they have at the onset of the fiscal year. That's assigned to the Edward Burr Memorial Grant. That's a national grant. And they take whatever money they have available at the beginning of that grant cycle, and they have some formula, and it's based on, if you're familiar with NIBRS, used to be called UCR, reporting data to the FBI, crime statistics and calls for service and things like that. There is a population aspect to that, but it's not based entirely on population. It's based more on a need that's related to the crime data statistics that we supply to the Department of Justice, and they use that as part of their formula, which is why Kane County, who historically has not provided that information to the Department of Justice, would otherwise be ineligible for this grant. But through a sharing, process, we decided long ago. Elgin and the Aurora decided long ago to share these funds with them.
If it's based on the crimes, we are very good in Aurora right now.
Yes, that's
So
correct.
I mean,
Yes.
we probably will want to receive not much.
And that's a good point to bring up. We have historically received much more money in the Edward Byrne grant than this year. I've seen, just off the top of my head, I've seen over the last 3 or 4 years this money go down. Now, I don't know if that's based on our crime statistics or that's based on the amount of available money at the onset of the grant. That's not information that's shared with us at the end user part of this. So it could be a combination of a reduction in funding and or a combination of a reduction in crime data.
Okay.
Probably the former.
I'm sorry,
Probably the former.
perhaps an amalgam of both, yes.
All right.
And just to reiterate, Lieutenant, that you anticipate $23,202 being allocated to the city, is that right?
If I could just take a moment to check my...
13 is what they,
Yes, that's correct. And we have until September of 2027 to use all of these funds. So whatever is not used in 2025, we would carry that over into 2026. I can almost certainly assure you that that funding would be spent up long before September of 27. But next year is another Ed Byrne grant, and another opportunity to obtain funding for the police department.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion or questions?
motion to approve?
Second.
Moved by Alderwoman Garza, seconded by Alderman Lesh. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried, 5-0. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Any other business to come before the PHSNT committee?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Moved by Alderman Lesh, seconded by Alderwoman Garza. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried, 5-0. We are adjourned at 4:27 p.m. Thank you, one and all.